Hey everybody, it's Jason with Parallel Reality coming back with you here today with an article from Breitbart dated September 3rd. And I see headlines like this, and it just makes me roll my eyes about as far into the back of my head as I could possibly roll them. So yeah, it's called Shakespeare's Macbeth branded as racist for themes like darkness. Now, I don't know if you've ever read Macbeth. I have. It was a long time ago. It was in college, so it was, oh Jesus, age 20 plus years ago. Um, yeah, so it was a long time ago at this point, but I remember loving it. It was one of my favorite plays of or favorite Shakespeare or anything that I ever read. I just absolutely loved it. I read it in one sitting. That's how much I liked it. And I don't remember anything like this, but of course, what we have to do these days is current day everything so that people in the past who may not have had any interactions with anyone of a non-white skin color, we have to label them things that they in all likelihood were not because, concepts like this didn't exist back then. But let's go ahead and see what the morons who are trying to yet again cancel something Shakespeare did have to say this time. And you can see I have a bunch of tabs open up here. They can give you an idea of stuff I was looking up just to take a look into things, and we'll get into it. So, article here says William Shakespeare's Macbeth has been accused by an academic hosted by the Globe Theatre of being racialized with references to darkness. Now, I don't. Again, it's been over 20 years since I've read it, so I don't remember everything specifically in it, but I don't remember anything like that. But knowing these people, the darkness they're probably talking to is like maybe someone turned off a light and it got dark in the room. Okay, knowing them. Okay, I'm not saying that's what happened in the play. I'm just saying this is like what these people think, because their mind is only on one switch, and that's everything, everyone, all the time is racist. It says a lot more about them than it does everybody else, but let's keep going. It says in the latest installment of Anti-Racist Shakespeare webinars hosted by the Bard's Globe Theatre in London, Assistant Professor of English at Trinity University in Texas, Catherine Romero Santos, declared that the language in Macbeth demonstrates the alleged racial bias of the 17th century playwright. So I read that part and it made me kind of go, okay, I want to know something. I want to know exactly how many non-white people were living in England at this time. And my first thought before I actually looked into Google, which is the first time here, I said it's probably single digits. I was thinking single digits. It's probably wrong, but it's probably single digits. But I'm like, if it's more than that, it's probably not a whole heck of a lot more. Okay, England at that time was pretty white. Okay, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's just the way it was. Okay, just like Africa was very black, mostly black. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just the way it was. Who cares? So I typed into Google how many non white people lived in England during the reign of Elizabeth I. So it says right here, the question I wanted to see was, were there black people in England in the 16th century? And it says there were at least 350 Africans in England during the Tudor and early Stuart period, which was 1500 to 1640. And Shakespeare, by the way, lived from 1564 to 1616, so it was nearer towards the end of that period, as we mostly came from North and West Africa. And a good little sentence here says, none were regarded as being enslaved by law. That's a good thing. Okay, so then I thought, wait a minute, okay, so what exactly was the population of England at this time? Okay, it's 350. I mean, that's the number that they're saying. It's the number we got to go with. Okay, so the population of England during the Elizabethan era was 4.1 million. So I said, okay, 350 people out of 4.1 million. Let's say that's like at the end, and that was more or less when Shakespeare was. Like I said, he lived from 1564 to 1616. So when Elizabeth died in 1603, we were kind of at the height of Shakespeare. So 4.1 million should be the number that's being used. So I said, okay, what is 350 divided by 4.1 million? If you look at your screen, you can see an extraordinarily small number here. Okay. And I ran, as you see, 350 divided by 4.1 million, or four. Yeah, type the whole thing out, of course. And this is tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s. And let's round it up to, so this 8 here is actually a 9. So it's 9/100,000th of the population of England was not white. If you're thinking that's a very, 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 very small amount of people, you would be beyond correct. Okay? So then I kind of went, oh, wait a minute, though. I'm not talking about all of England because most of the Shakespeare stuff probably took place in London. I don't know a huge amount about his actual life, besides the plays that he wrote, but I was like, I would guess, London's kind of where everything was happening in England at that point, or at least all like the cultural hub of England was London. So I said, okay, what was the population of Elizabethan London? It was about 200,000 in 1600. So pretty much like at the same time that we're looking at. So we're not mixing up years or everything like that. Okay. So then my next question was, all right, what's like a comparison to a particular American city today in terms of population? So I pulled that up. And the closest one that we have here is Augusta, Georgia, which is and that's as of 2023's population is 106 people short of 200,000. Okay. And that's the closest one to the size of London at that time. It's amazingly, oops, that kind of scrolled away from me there. It's a 124th largest city in the country. Not cutting that cough out. Okay. So just to say, there's a comparison for you. So then my next question was, all right, let's do the same thing. Let's divide the 350 people by 200,000 to say, okay, this is exactly what we're looking at here. And my Windows Explorer is being a dick, so we're going to have to Alt-Tab our way over here. So 350 divided by 200,000. So it would be saying that, what was that? Let's round it up. Let's take the 75, round it up to a 2 here. So tens, hundreds, thousands. That's thousandths of the population of 16th or 17th century, early 17th century London was non-white. So if you're in London, the odds of you running into someone that is non-white is at that time was extraordinarily slim. Obviously, I think it's pretty safe to say, I shouldn't say obviously, but I think it's fairly safe to say that, of course, most folks probably knew that there were people out there that were non-white. Okay. I know Shakespeare knew that. He wrote plays about it. I mean, go look up Othello. Um, but to sit here and say that like this man was racist over people he probably had uh no if saying he had no interaction with them is probably a lot closer to the truth than saying he had interaction with them. And also, like, the term racism didn't exist then. So I'd go back to this article here. I'm like, all right, well, this person is just using modern parlance to describe something that happened 400 years ago, which is not a fair thing to do. So let's go ahead and go back to this article after I went on my little tangent of showing some numbers. So it says, according to comments reported by the Daily Mail, Vomero Santos claimed in the discussion that the use of words such as bat, beetle, black, and knight could be seen as examples of racialized language in the play that examines the corrupting nature of power. Yeah, and Macbeth's about Scottish king. And I don't remember the exact plot besides that. I'm ashamed to say I did read it again over 20 years ago. It's been a while, and it was only one time. In fact, it's on my shelf, and I just turned my head to look at it, and I'm looking right at the book. But anyway, so I can read it whenever the heck I want to, but let's keep going. So it's pointing to a scene in which the lead character is referred to as Black Macbeth, and they probably by black didn't mean, African. They probably meant like bad. Okay. It probably had nothing to do with race. It was just like saying, in a lot of movies and TV shows where they have characters that are often referred to as bad, they have just the name black in their name, and it's not meant to be a racial thing at all. Never was. Okay. It says the American academic reportedly said, quote, I think that it's important to help our students to see the ways in which a play we might not recognize immediately as a race play, which it isn't, is relying on racialized language and playing on the dichotomy of whiteness and blackness and dark and light. Okay, it's an end quote there. So this person is insane. You should not be listening to them about anything. They're trying to put 2023 values into a play from the early 17th century or late 16th century, somewhere in there. Okay. So it says the professor was backed up by Migdalia Cruz, who right off the bat, I should say you should not also be listening to. She's backing the first person up, who said the use of the words such as Jew, Moor, and Turk within the play, and these, I don't know about if people use Moor, but people use Jew. I'm a Jew. I think I would know that. And Turk today, I mean, you have an entire country called Turkey. The people there are Turks. We don't call them Ottomans anymore. We call the part of your couch an Ottoman. So the hell are you talking about? Because a lot of people cut those things, and I thought, I am not going to make him a racist. He is a racist, but a racist of his time. Everyone in his time were racist. So this is a person right here, this Migdalia Cruz, who I guarantee you is just saying Shakespeare was white, and because she thinks all white people are racist because she's an idiot, that's what she's applying. Again, 21st century values to someone from the 16th/17th century. He was not a racist. Okay, again, that's why I looked up all these numbers and said there's probably a very good chance Mr. Shakespeare never ran into somebody of that skin color, though he certainly could have been like, yes, they exist. Okay. It's like, I've seen pictures of elephants. I'm sure they had pictures back then, not obviously like we do now, be like paintings of people. Okay. I've never run into an elephant, but I know they exist. Okay. Um, Maybe not the greatest example, but I think you get my point. So it says in 2018, Cruz produced a translation of Macbeth for the Oregon Shakespeare Festival as a part of a series of interpretations meant to present the bard's work in a language accessible to modern audiences. Because, of course, we have to George Orwell everything. We have to 1984 everything. Okay, so that people aren't offended by things that were not offensive to begin with. Okay, this woman she doesn't possess the capacity to understand that she's the bad guy. She is the villain here. Okay. There's nothing wrong with Macbeth. It's totally fine the way it is. Okay. And I'm sure in the college discussion I had about this play when I was there, if it was, we would have talked about it because that's what you used to do in college was talk about controversial like that. Okay. This is Catherine Romero Santos for her part helped curate a collection of retellings of Shakespeare's works by Latino and indigenous writers that place the stories and settings more familiar to those from the border regions between the United States and Mexico. Okay, I don't have a problem with taking I don't have a problem with taking Shakespeare's stories and moving them to, a contemporary environment, okay? And like kind of doing something of like a retelling. Like look at the movie 10 Things I Hate About You, which is an excellent movie if you haven't seen it. Go see it. And I want to say that it's The Taming of the Shrew is what that's based on. Okay. So I have no problem with stuff like that at all. Okay. You want to do like some sort of, you want to tell it in a different arena than, obviously 16th, 17th century England. Yeah, sure. Go ahead. No issue with that. But it's the whole changing certain parts of the language around because you think people are going to be offended by words that they shouldn't be offended for is just stupidity and it's Orwellian. It says the latest woke attacks on Shakespeare have been criticized by some British academics, and that should be all British academics, not some, including emeritus professor of sociology at Kent University, Frank Ferretti, who said, quote, I think all the comments suffer from the condition of what I call moral anachronism, which involves reading history backwards and projecting onto the past the obsessions of the contemporary writer, in this case with race and blackness. I couldn't have said it better myself, Mr. Professor Guy. That's 100% correct. That's what I was saying already coming onto this part. You're 100% right. I don't have anything else to add to that. Does England in the Age of Shakespeare author and historian Jeremy Black added, the idea of blackness is evil and the cover for crime draws on long-standing fears of the dark and should not be confused with racism. Yeah, that's it. That's what I said at the beginning. It probably just means like, you know, evil. It doesn't mean African. And people conflating those two things, it says a lot about you and a lot more about you than it does anybody else. Says responding, the Globe Theater's Director of Education, Farah Kareem Koop, said, we support the scholars and others who speak on our platforms, while we may not agree with everything they say. We trust our audiences the way Shakespeare did to judge for themselves. And that's the end of the article. And I think that's a fine statement to make. I mean, yeah, that's a part of being a free speech advocate is that you allow the people who you disagree with to actually have a voice. Okay. I fully agree with that statement, but I'm getting really sick of seeing things that were not racist, were never considered racist, even in their time, because again, racism wasn't a concept then, really. Okay. Seeing those things bastardized because people from today have hurt fifis and they need to change things around because of it. So, yeah, you people who are changing this stuff, you can just go jump in a lake. I'm concerned. Okay, because this is just stupid. And yeah, let's leave it at that. So, what do you guys think about this? Let me know in the comments below. Do you think that people should be rewriting Shakespeare for a modern audience? Do you think, do you think these professors are right? What do you think about it? Let me know in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.